Welcome to Tent Talks. I'm Missy.
And I'm Mariah. I'm a certified nurse midwife, and I'm a mom of 3 children, 7 and younger.
I'm a mom of 5, pregnant with my 6th. And we came together because we're women, just like you, and we saw a need. So we created a platform and a community for women called Beyond the Red Tent.
Right.
And we're taking it one step further.
To TED Talks. So TED Talks is a space where you can come and learn from vetted experts, real women that are willing to share their courageous stories about topics of holistic women's health.
And so you're here. We understand life is full. You're a busy woman. So this is only going to be about 30 minutes of a beautiful talk with either an expert or a real woman like yourself. So grab a cup of tea, sit back, and enjoy. Welcome, everyone. I'm Missy, and I am so incredibly honored today to be interviewing Dr. Shefali. Probably a lot of you know who she is, but if you don't, I'll give you a little background here. So her blend of clinical psychology and Eastern mindfulness really sets her apart as a leader in the field of mindfulness psychology. She's an international speaker. She speaks at events around the globe, spreading her message of conscious parenting and mindful living. She also has a private practice where she consults with families and couples. And Oprah has endorsed her work as revolutionary and life-changing, which I absolutely will say that it is. Dr. Shefali's groundbreaking approach to mindful living and parenting has taken her books to the top of the New York Times bestsellers list. And she also offers, which is amazing, online courses that cover topics like anger, anxiety, purpose, meaning, relationships, and conscious health. And her newest online course, Free to Be, Dr. Shefali is going to be diving deep into conscious relationships. So Dr. Shefali, welcome. I'm so honored to be interviewing you today. And, relationships like that, relationships really kind of set the tone for what our experience here on earth is. So tell us, what is a conscious relationship?
Yeah, I wanted to do this course, and I've called it Free to Be, and it's actually starting on March 6th, tomorrow, if people are watching it on March 6th and today. And the reason I wanted to do this course is because I've seen so many of us trapped in unconscious relationships, unable to be authentic. And I see this with women more than with men, because we women are emotionally connected beings. We are emotionally literate and articulate. So we are more prone to suffer in an unconscious relationship because we will be suppressing our authentic selves. Whereas, say, with a man, he may just not even be in touch with his emotional literacy or emotional authenticity. But we are in touch with it, but then we find ourselves playing roles, and because we've been conditioned in a particular way, mostly to be givers, mostly to self-sacrifice, mostly to serve others. And in this self-abnegation, in this nurturing of others before the self, we suppress our authentic voice and we suffer. And I think we're seeing a rise of the woman's voice now because we're tired of playing a role and tired of living behind a mask and tired of being the self-sacrificing, ever-giving person. It's okay to be that, but we've somehow lost ourselves in that. And so my course, Free to Be, is really to empower women. I mean, it's for men too, but really, actually, it's to liberate women. So a conscious relationship is one where we enter with a focus on growth. It's not on service, it's on growth. And it's the shift away from caring for the other to really authenticity. Redefining relationships, no more about compromise and, give and take. It's really about growth, about the primacy of your authenticity. And when that is aligned with, everything falls in place on a very different vibrational frequency than the typical traditional advice of give and take and compromise and meet each other's needs. I debunk all of that.
And so it's fascinating to me, as women, you're probably going to have a lot of women in this course, but what do you do when your partner isn't on the same path as you? So, the woman's like, yeah, I'm all about it. I want a conscious relationship. I want to dive deep and I want to do the work to become aligned with my higher purpose and my higher self in this relationship. But the guy is not, maybe you're even married to him and maybe he's not stepping in to that. So what does a woman do then?
Well, let me just break this apart. First, let me say it is the most ubiquitous common thing in my communities because I have women who are coming to be authentic, to liberate, to become conscious. And their first complaint is, but my husband's not on board. Number one. Number two, it is a gender problem. I don't mean to knock men down, but we women seem to be on the vanguard of a greater awakening. We are hungry, we're thirsty. And again, it's because biologically, primarily, we are nurtured to connect. We are raised to serve the inner being. You know, we're not outward focused, we're internal. And so by nature, we gravitate towards consciousness movements more than men. So in my audiences, every fourth person is a man, but it's 1 out of 4. So women are on the vanguard. We are on the precipice. We are the ones who will make the change. But we will suffer because what do we do with our unconscious partners? What do we do with these men who are also conditioned, but they're conditioned differently? They're conditioned to look outward. What is a woman to do? Number 3, the whole institution of marriage needs to be overhauled and looked at because we enter partnerships in our late 20s, I'm being generous, or early 30s. And most of us, at least in our generation, definitely in our 20s, we're thinking the clock is ticking. So think about it. We enter these institutions, and the institution of marriage was predicated on property ownership and control of women and children. So we don't realize what we're entering into because we're like all naive and in love and the hormones are raging and the clock is ticking and we don't know who we are. We're so clueless, right? So now we're bound to this person and who's kind of possessive, and it's indicative of the institution that there's possession and control. I mean, it's a subliminal message of the institution. And because we're not awakened, we willingly walk into this not realizing that we should have predicated the partnership on other fundamentals of growth, spiritual awareness, self-care, of raising consciousness, of elevating who it is we are, finding our truth. We didn't do all that. We were just like sickness and in health. Please be here forever. Okay, be mine. And that's possession and control, right? We didn't found our marriage. We didn't base our marriage on growth. So now what? Now we're growing as women and the other one isn't growing. Now we're misaligned. Well, I talk about this in my course and how we can make empowered choices and how not to be disheartened, and how to think about what our next step is, because for different women, it'll be different things. Some women will learn to accept it because their children are too young and she doesn't have money. Some children will learn to change themselves. Some will try to change the other and some will leave. It'll be a combination of all these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I got married very, very young. My first time, I was 19. And so at 30 something, I woke up and this is what happened to me. And I said, oh, I want to grow and I want to go this way. And he said, no. And so, second time around for me has been a charm. Great. Thankfully, I'm with someone who wants to grow alongside me. But so for the men in your course and for the women, are you going to actually have people have like a relationship example happenings that you can see how this works?
Yes, we have a real life couple going through stuff with us, and I'll probably pick up people along the way to do work with. I really believe in experimenting the actual work and not just being a talking head. So right now I have a coaching institute and my next cohort is going to be starting in September. So if any of your women want to be conscious parenting coaches, they can look at my institute. But in the institute, the first cohort is happening right now. I do a lot of practical role playing. So somebody writes on Facebook, I'm struggling with being angry with my 5-year-old. So I'm like, come do a role play with me. So I love to show people in real time what it's all about because it's not theoretical. It's very practical what I teach, and it can be translated in real time, and people can liberate out of dysfunctional inner homes right away. The outside home doesn't have to change. I help people change on the inside, and I empower men and women to change the status quo with beauty, with compassion, with love, but yes, to be bold and to change their lives. Life is too short to live in fear and suffering.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So for you, how does the course work? What is the flow? How do you take people through to at the end of this where they can say, now I really feel it. Now I really feel like I've shifted something in me, something in my relationship. Do you have a specific flow that you take people through?
Well, I typically start with all the ways we are lying to ourselves and all the flaws in the way we are believing things. And what we believe about relationships is fundamentally flawed. What we believe about partnerships, what we believe about friendships, what we believe about marriage is what we believe about love, cheating, betrayal, loyalty, forgiveness. All these are flawed concepts. So first I educate people in a new way of looking at things. And so I really screw with their brain, like it's like all being rattled and shaken all around. And when it's sufficiently loosened, then I come with actionable things they can do to really begin implementing real time solutions. And Facebook is a big part of my courses where people process and they write and I give homework and we practice together and we reveal the inner child, because really we're inner children with other people's inner children. We're not grown-ups in a relationship. We're unmet needs of one person trying to meet the unmet needs of the other person, and no one is being able to meet the needs. I call it twin beggars. We're both begging, but no one has anything to give. And so I show people schematically, symbolically what we're really doing, and it's epiphanic for people. They have many aha moments, and then we begin to really change. So Facebook community support, my lectures, I'm going to have a town hall meeting once a month. I'm going to have this live case, and it's all recorded, so you don't have to be there live. I'm very hands-on in the Facebook group. It's a 5-month program, guaranteed at the end of 5 months, people will be different in a good way, in an empowered way. They may not still be in their relationships. They may have walked away from many relationships, but it'll all be to the better. Relationships that needed to be cast off, needed to be sloughed off, needed to be released.
Yeah. And you mentioned that inner child work, which I've been doing some of recently, and it's so powerful and so profound when you actually can kind of sit down with yourself, like you're that child whose needs maybe weren't all met, and tell her it's okay. You're not there anymore. And now you can meet your own needs. Like you can heal that part of yourself that didn't get met as a child, which is why the work that you do with conscious parenting, I think, is so profound, because how amazing if we're able to meet the needs of our children, what kind of adults are they going to be, and how will they be able to show up in relationships in a different way than we've been able to show up in relationships. I think
absolutely. And it's really about breaking unconscious cycles. It's not about, trying to create the perfect image. It's about really freeing ourselves from the bondage of unconscious patterns that we seem to just repetitiously enact and not even know we're in a pattern.
Yeah, so true. So 5 months, that's a long course for an online course, but I think...
Well, I do year-long courses. I have 2 year-long courses, which people take, they're 52 hours. But I did 2 year-long courses because people take time to change. It's about embedding these concepts so it becomes your second nature. Change doesn't happen easily. These are profound things that I talk about, complex for many people who've never been exposed to spiritual wisdom teachings. So I allow it to really seep in. It's a process. Yeah. I want to take people on a process. I don't want them to be easy fixed or just listening. I want them to experientially go through some deep work.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful and so important that they can take that they're ready to invest in themselves for 5 months. And it seems like a long time, but it's amazing that we have this virtual world where we can do this kind of deep work without having to go, 3 times a week to the therapist. So it's pretty amazing.
This is therapy.
Yeah.
It's moving, mobilized, actionable, deep, direct therapy happening. You'll see. I'm gonna give it to you for a gift because
cool. Oh, I can't wait.
But
for young women, therapy. What do you say to younger women? 20 to 30-year-old group of women who maybe aren't even in a relationship yet, but I would imagine for them, if they could come and do this work prior to, like you said, making that commitment where they go, oh, oops.
But exactly, I'm gonna, in this course, talk about the quote-unquote matched partner and the mismatched partner and what to look out for. But on the other hand, we also know that we're all going to make mistakes, and the young ones are going to make their own mistakes, because the mistakes are not mistakes. They are an unfolding of consciousness. They are a depiction of where we were consciously and how unhealed we were to where we are now. So the mistakes are just wounds that haven't been healed. So sometimes we have to go through the muck, as long as we're willing to understand what the muck is about and evolve.
Yeah, we absolutely have to go through it. I mean, now when you're going through it and you're younger, you think, oh, this is terrible. And then you land in your 40s and you see the big picture, and that there's no way, for me personally, that I would be where I am without having gone through the muck. It's that refining fire. But, of course, I have a 19-year-old daughter, so I have her on the brain, and I'm thinking, how could I save her? How could I?
Right.
Which is not my job.
You save her by giving her a way to think about her life. If she can understand what it's about, then she will be okay. So when my daughter just recently had a blip with her close male friend, I was able to contextualize it for her. I didn't take away the experience for her. You don't want to take away the pain. You want to create wisdom within the pain. Because when the pain makes sense, you're understanding why it's there and how you co-created it, and then how you can evolve. And you never want to take away the pain. You can't take away the pain. The pain is the pain of the past coming out. You want to have wisdom in the pain so that the pain doesn't just mindlessly repeat itself.
Right. It's like not letting them climb the tree when they're little kids. You got to let them climb the tree with the risk of falling, because that's how they learn how high they can climb.
Exactly.
Or not.
You can't like cut it short and go, no relationships.
Right.
Then how are they going to evolve?
Right. So what do you feel is the most profound aspect of, you shifted from conscious parenting now into conscious relationships. So what do you feel is the most profound part of this teaching of conscious relationships?
It's not very different from conscious parenting, but it's just more adult and more real, more grimy, because now it's like serious. With children, it's serious too, but children bring some sort of beauty to the process, but adults just bring the grind, So you have to get really strong with adults and really break down walls. Parents are easier to work with because it's unmistakable that the child had nothing to do with it, or very little to do with it. With adults, you're like, no, 50%, 50, you stay more strong, so you have to be more powerful. But I think what I teach people is to look at the relationship as a mirror, and to look in the mirror correctly. And if you look inside correctly, you'll see your own co-creation so easily. And then I teach people to disrupt the pattern. And when you disrupt the pattern, everything changes. It doesn't mean things become better or easier. It just changes. And people are scared of change. And so I empower people that change is inevitable. We are here to evolve. Evolution is transformation. Transformation is the transform. You have to trans the form. The form has to change. What is form? The self, the house, the body, the money. Something has to give. You have to die unto yourself. And I give people the courage to die.
That sounds amazing.
Psychically,
Right. I love change. I think, change is what keeps me excited about life.
Very few people love it. You've changed so much already. That's why you're not afraid.
Right.
But most people have just been clinging to stagnancy, and they're extremely afraid to change. So I make change exciting and sexy and adventurous so they can love it and not be afraid.
And speaking of sexy, did I see something that you're actually going to go into some sexuality and in this course? What does that look like? What are you going to be talking about in terms of?
Well, especially for women, we need to liberate ourselves sexually. And part of our liberation sexually is an autonomy from men. We need to stop being dependent on getting validated by men, and we need to really enter our beauty and our boldness and our aging and our cellulite with real embrace. Because when we do, we will change the paradigm. Then we will make men love women with cellulite. But we are subscribing to the whole paradigm that we shouldn't have cellulite, for example, or shouldn't have wrinkles. So we become robots, look like little Botox Barbie dolls and butt-lifted Barbie dolls. So then we train the men to only like that. Then we are a slave to that. Then we train them to that. We're part of that co-creation. So if enough of us women go, no, we don't care, the men will have no choice and go, okay, I love you, right? But we are allowing men to objectify us in our own way. Men are doing their part, but we're also doing our part. So I help women to liberate their sexuality by really celebrating their ordinariness, their body, their curves. And when we liberate ourselves sexually by also pleasing ourselves, right? I talk about masturbation and how we need to love our bodies and please our bodies. And there's nothing wrong with being sexy and sexual and sensual with ourselves first, and then with our partners. Because the whole industry of sex is so under taboo, when it is how we're born. It is how we are here. It's just so puritanical and archaic. It's almost, nauseating because it's a farce.
It's always hilarious to me. I say, like, we all came out of, I mean, unless you were a cesarean baby, but most of us came out of vaginas, and yet nobody wants to even say the word vagina. So
we don't want to look at our own vagina and get pleasure from it.
Right.
It's there for pleasure. I mean, we can look at the Tuscan hills and have pleasure in nature. We are part of that. We're part of nature. This is nature. It's not, it's been so blasphemized because we've been cut off from nature. If we see ourselves just like we would the rolling hills of Tuscany, we would love ourselves. But we see ourselves separate from nature, you see? We think we're superior, and then we make ourselves inferior. If we just saw ourselves just ordinary like nature and as splendorous as nature, then we would enjoy our body. I mean, I know women who've never seen or touched their clitoris or seen their vagina or touched them. I mean, this is a disservice because you know what we do? Then we give men power. Yeah. And then we cry about it.
Right. Right. Don't complain about it when you're handing it over. And, I actually remember watching Oprah when she had somebody on, I think it was in my early 20s, maybe 22. And she had, the whole diagram of female anatomy. And I grabbed a mirror and I went in the bedroom and I was like, I'm checking on and it was the first time that I ever had. But then talking to older women, my grandmother who didn't have an orgasm until she was 50. 50. Like, how is that even possible? You had 6 children and 0 orgasms? That is not okay.
Because we've been trained to give and sacrifice and have no pleasure. This is how we've been conditioned. And, 70% of women don't have orgasms. So, and then we're really upset when men are enjoying sex, and going to other women because we're not enjoying it. So if you don't enjoy it, you don't have it. You don't have it. Anyway, you can never have it enough as men. So now you're not enjoying it and having even less than a woman who would enjoy it. Now the discrepancy between a man's sexual drive and your sexual drive is an abyss. Then we get upset when they go out and get it. So it's all a big mess, It's both contribute. It's not just women who contribute. Men contribute to the issue too. But we need to have honest dialogue around it, transparent dialogue.
That's the thing, because so many relationships the boat is rocked by, like, you hear sex. It's sex and money. Those are the 2 big things. And so if we can learn how to communicate about that, and like you said, as women really take our sexuality and own it and be in charge of it and learn how to use our sexuality and love ourselves. My goodness. Oh my God. I could talk about this forever because I think that as women, we are the ones who've created the unrealistic expectations, really. And so there is a movement happening right now, and I can feel it. And there's so many women that are a part of it where we're saying enough. We need to love ourselves for how we are and how we're made, like you said, as part of nature. And we need to start looking at other women and saying, wow, she's beautiful. Look at her curves. She's beautiful. And I think beginning to appreciate each other in our beauty.
It has nothing to do with men. It has nothing to do with hating men. It's about us hating ourselves and being so critical of each other. One woman on a dining table talking about her weight and diet and her wrinkles ruins it for everybody, because our default is already so primed for that. We need to never talk about this for like decades and generations for it to be removed from our consciousness. We've been so deeply conditioned to look unnatural now, and feel ashamed about it and not understand nature, not understand a male's nature, not understand a female's nature. And we're really suffering because of it.
So with this course, you're just going to change the world. No big deal, right?
No big deal. Just a few hundred women.
Which is where it all starts.
Yes.
So it starts tomorrow.
Yes. So I have a live class every week, but it's all recorded. And there's so much inspirational stuff that I post, and I slowly change the way people think about themselves, their bodies, and their relationships with everyone, and what it means to have boundaries, what it means to say no, what it means to be authentic, what it means to live fearlessly, what it means to not be enmeshed, enabled, and dependent, what it means to understand the typical pattern of a narcissist and an enabler, the typical, male-female paradigms, how to take back power, how to be compassionate and release people, how to let go and move on, all this stuff.
So I'll put the details for Dr. Shefali's Free to Be course in the description of the video. And you guys, I'll put all the different ways that you can find her and get in contact with her. And so here at Beyond the Red Tent, we have one question that we ask everybody at the end of the interview. So if you could tell your younger, maybe 20-something self, if you could give her one piece of wisdom, what would that be?
Stop pretending, stop lying to yourself, stop playing small, and really, you're worthy, you have one life to live. Just start being you. Your mission is to be you.
Beautiful. We can be free to be. I love that. I love the name of the course. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I hope I see some of you women there. We will change the world together.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe.
And if you also want to take a peek at our website, it's right here.